Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream and Chelsea news update. As always, guys, plenty to go through, all the latest in the search for a new manager. Roberto De Zerbi has not been fully ruled out. Still unknown who the fourth mystery candidate is. Kieran McKenna would reportedly rather wait to see what Manchester United decide to do with Erik ten Hag, as they are his preferred choice before deciding his next move. Chelsea want to sign Michael Olise, regardless of who the manager is this summer, and it's believed to be a shootout between Chelsea and United for the Palace winger, with Newcastle, Liverpool and Arsenal also believed to be interested. Of course, we've got the latest on Enzo Maresca as well, with Fabrizio Romano stating that the Italian would be super keen, were his words, on taking over at Chelsea and becoming the Blues' next manager. I'm sure he would be, considering he's at Leicester right now. He's not been a manager for that long. I'm sure he would be very grateful to take over. So yeah, loads to dive into, guys. Loads and loads to dive into right now. Let's get stuck into things, people. Let's get stuck into things. Big up to everyone that's locked in already. Appreciate, it's bank holiday weekend. It's a bit earlier than normal, but I've got things to do today, so I need to get this. Wanted to get this in, so it has to be done at this time. So I appreciate everyone that's already locked in and has tuned in at this earlier time than normal. Make sure you're smashing the like button, guys. Let's get these likes up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. Heading towards 10,000 subscribers. Every new subscriber helps. So please, if you're locked in now, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It takes seconds and it really helps. And smash the likes, as I said. Let's get them up towards the 50 mark. First port of call. But yeah, well on the way to 100 likes, guys. Smash that like button. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, guys, get involved in the chat as well. What are you people saying? If we get Michael Olise, we need to sell someone. Agreed, we're going to get into the Olise stuff. Hopefully, Man United lose the FA Cup final, so Chelsea get Europa League football next season. Yeah, of course, today's a big day in terms of what football Chelsea will be playing in Europe next season, whether it's going to be Europa League football if Man City win, or if Man United manage to pull off a shock win, which would be a disaster, then we would be condemned to the Conference League. So there is a lot resting on the FA Cup final outcome for Chelsea this afternoon. Xavi, Amorim, and even De Zerbi, I would take as a Chelsea manager over the current list we are linked to. I agree. The list is not the best. I think we can definitely agree on that one. Yes, big up, mate. Hope you're doing well. We need a striker in the summer as well who can get us goals. Yep, absolutely agree on that front. We certainly do need that. We are in desperate need of that. But anyway, let's move on to managerial situation. Let's start with that then. And let's start with the news that Roberto De Zerbi has not been fully ruled out. So Chelsea have not yet ruled out a move for Roberto De Zerbi. There has been no confirmation whether or not De Zerbi is officially the fourth unnamed coach on Chelsea's shortlist. Now, I think it's safe to say that De Zerbi divides opinion for sure amongst the Chelsea fan base. There's a lot of fans I see that are desperately keen to have the Italian on board as the club's next manager. They really believe in his work, think he's a good manager. Look, for what it's worth, with the current candidates that are listed, a move for De Zerbi would be preferable in my view, as opposed to a Maresca or a McKenna, for example. I don't think there's any denying that fact, but I do have my reservations on De Zerbi. I absolutely do. This is someone that is an explosive character. The reason he left Brighton was nothing to do with footballing reasons. The reason he left Brighton was because he didn't agree with the club's direction, the direction the club were going in, and he didn't agree with the transfer policy. So we're in a situation here where he's disagreed with the direction the club's going in. The way Chelsea operate is not too dissimilar from Brighton. It's not too dissimilar in its way of recruitment either. Obviously, it's on a bigger scale, but it's not too dissimilar. Let me just turn the lights on. It's not too dissimilar on that front, and there are question marks. Yes, he's done a good job at Brighton, but what I would say is, though, guys, is that I'd be slightly cautious You know, and people are absolutely right to point to injuries. Brighton not only lost their midfield of Caicedo and McAllister, which is very hard to replace. You know, we know that. They lost Levi Cole from the back, difficult to replace. However, you know, you can point to injuries, but 1 win in the last 10 Premier League games, 7 wins in the last 32 Premier League games. I think that is a fair cause for concern. And regardless of circumstances, 7 wins in 32, you should expect De Zerbi to have done slightly better than that, in my view. And I would look at that as a concern. You know, that can't solely just be down to injuries. Yes, I know they've had defensive problems at the back. Yes, I know they've had issues with injuries to the likes of Kieran Matoma. I know João Pedro spent time. I know Evan Ferguson's not featured regularly. Ansu Fati, who they signed on loan from Barcelona, there's been injury issues there. But, you know, I feel that is despite that, there should be an expectation that 7 wins in the last 32 Premier League games, there is an expectation that you should be doing better than that. I mean, I could be wide of the mark here, guys. I could be wide of the mark, but I believe there's an expectation that you should be looking to do better than that. You know, I really do think that. Look, he's an interesting manager. I'm not sure if he's the answer to the problems. You know, yes, he had a brilliant season. You know, off the back of the foundations that Graham Potter laid, and he took that further. But Brighton have absolutely regressed this season. And whether you put that down to recruitment, whether you put that down to the players he lost, whether you put that down to injuries, you know, those are all contributing factors. But they regressed massively this season. You know, they finished behind Crystal Palace. You know, this is the levels we're talking about here, guys. They finished behind Crystal Palace, who switched managers 3/4 of the way through the season, were struggling. You know, they potentially could have gone down if they didn't replace Roy Hodgson, and yet they finished above Brighton. Look, it's going to be very difficult to know. You know, I think people point to De Zerbi as, you know, best suited to the squad, and the reasons they give are things like, oh, you know, he's worked with you know, the likes of Caicedo before. He's worked with Mudryk before. He's worked with Colwell before. Great. Okay, that's 3 players. It's going to take a bit more than that to improve things. But, you know, on the flip side, De Zerbi implements a heavy possession-based style of football. He's definitely highly rated by fellow managers and, you know, ex-players of his. You know, Sam Jewell, who he worked with at Brighton, has just joined Chelsea's hierarchy. He's also worked with Paul Winstanley before. So you'd like to think that potentially some sort of collaboration could work there, and he could get on well with the sporting structure at the club. You would like to think that would be a possibility for sure. Other things in his favour as well would I would say, you know, he's got the ability to control matches. You know, he normally goes with a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 system, which I think suits the squad of players that we've got right now. As I said, he's already coached the likes of Caicedo, Mudryk, and Colwell. He doesn't have a bad management history. You know, he'd be working with young players at Chelsea, which is a bit easier, perhaps not as many egos as there would be in a more established dressing room. And I think a big thing which appeals to fans is that he's passionate, and he would absolutely he's charismatic, he's passionate, and he would 100% connect with the fans. You know, he's got that connection with the fans as well. However, as I said, the big question marks are, you know, Matt Law reporting that De Zerbi would have to fit in with the club's structure. Now, I'm just unsure on whether that would happen. That for me is the big issue. That for me is the big issue. Roberto De Zerbi would have to demonstrate that he could work within Chelsea's club structure with sporting directors Winstanley and Stewart to stand any chance of getting the job ahead of Maresca, McKenna, and Frank. So, according to Matt Law, then De Zerbi is probably behind the likes of Maresca, McKenna, and Frank. I mean, by the way, how concerning is it that Thomas Frank is still on the shortlist? That is concerning, guys. that is really concerning. That he's seemingly, his name is not going away. And I really don't think that would be a good appointment for Chelsea whatsoever. No disrespect to Frank, he's done a great job at Brentford, done a great job in his own right as a manager. But yeah, come on, this is not what Chelsea should be looking for. And I'll tell you what also shouldn't be happening, guys, is over 100 people in the building, only 18 likes. Guys, what's going on here? If you're not smashing that thumbs up button, what are you doing? This needs to be moving on up. Moving on up. Come on, guys. Smash that thumbs up button. There's 19 likes in here with 104 people in the building. Big up to everyone that's locked in. The like target, the like ratio to compared to viewers is pathetic, people. You're better than this, guys. You always deliver the goods for me. Make sure you're smashing that thumbs up button. Let's ramp these likes up. Let's get this to 100 quick time. Come on, people. Do your thing. And as always, keep subscribing to the channel as well. What are people saying in the chat? I will take De Zerbi in a heartbeat after seeing managers from the Championship. I think his football fits our team. I get that. I get that. Sanchez and Cucurella, I don't think De Zerbi worked. De Zerbi didn't work with Cucurella, and then Sanchez he didn't use at all. He relegated him to a third choice keeper. These little fans don't understand what elite club means. De Zerbi doesn't deserve a club like Chelsea. I think that's slightly harsh, but I get where you're coming from. He played UCL with Shakhtar, Europa League with Brighton. He has a bit of European experience. No, he absolutely does. Yeah, of course. That's probably another thing that stands there. I mean, I don't say we're doomed, but it's certainly going to be it's going to be tricky. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. That is absolutely clear. The fact that they've even leaked a list shows they just don't have a plan. I think the biggest problem is that for me personally, when you've got too many decision makers involved in the process, everyone's going to have ulterior motives. Each guy has got their preferred candidate, and they're going to try and push them, which leads to a decision that everyone is not going to be happy with, and it also leads to a decision taking a long time because you've got to get so many people to agree on the outcome. And I think ultimately, I'm not sure if these sporting directors truly trust their own judgment right now. I don't know if they truly trust them. You know, it's really tough. It's really, really tough. Really, really tough. I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. You know, and it's interesting as well, though, because De Zerbi's teams, right, defensively, huge concerns, let in a lot of goals. And I know we let in a lot of goals this season. I know, you know, to apply context, over 14 teams in the Premier League let in more than 60 goals this season. There's a record number of goals scored. I get that, the defensive concerns were not just down to, weren't just the Chelsea thing. You know, it was a thing that was a problem with a number of clubs. But you cannot overlook the defensive concerns with De Zerbi teams. And no one seems to be paying any attention whatsoever to the reasons that he left Brighton. He didn't get on. He fell out with the higher-ups. He didn't agree with the direction the club were going in. And that's not factoring in the regression that they've made this season. And a reason to get him is not, oh, he's worked with Mudryk and he's worked with Caicedo before. That is not a reason to be appointing a manager. You know, it simply isn't. You know, you've got to be looking at the bigger picture than just, oh, he's worked with a few players at the club before. Therefore, he's definitely the standout choice, and it's the right way for us to go. No. Let's engage our brains here and understand what's going on. You want a manager that's going to buy into the direction you're going in. You want a manager that's going to be happy to accept whatever players you decide to sign, and it's going to make them work. You want a manager that's going to toe the line that's coming from above. You want a manager that's not going to question you or challenge you or any of those things. De Zerbi is outspoken and will do those things. So therefore, I do not see how he's a fit for what this club are looking to do. This appointment went from being made in days to the club is now taking their time. I think this reflects managers having doubts about the so-called process, having seen how Poch was treated. Look, I think that's a fair point, you know, and I mean, not that my opinion counts for too much, but what I would say is, though, I would really, if I was a young up-and-coming manager, I would really think twice about coming to Chelsea. You know, Chelsea can chew you up and spit you out, and then you're back at the job centre looking for another job 6 to 12 months down the line. Yes, I get it's a big club and it's great to have on your CV, but right now it's a volatile place to go and work. I don't think it's the best environment to go and work in. It's not the best. It's not, it doesn't, they don't manage down very well at all. There's no accountability at the top level. As a manager, you're hung out to dry and you're using a bit of a human shield for the poor decisions that are made from above. These are all things that I've been thinking as a manager, potentially coming to Chelsea and think, maybe I'll be better off staying where I am for another season, or I'd prefer to go to a different club. Do you get what I'm saying? I would really advise against any young up-and-coming managers coming to Chelsea, despite the attraction, despite the fact it's a big club, despite its London lifestyle, despite its European football and whatnot, and the history. It's different now. And it's a volatile place, as I said, and I'm not sure people understand how difficult it is to work there with the way that the ownership are currently running the club. Look, I don't think we can just say because they got slapped by Roma 4-0 that is an abysmal manager. I think that's a little bit too simplistic a view. Again, neither of those are happening. Chelsea are not appointing a top-level manager. And we know why that is. They're selling his best players. We're not going to sell our top players. And of course, you can make the argument that you're only as good as the tools that you've got available to you. I appreciate that. But at the same time, you cannot tell me that just because of injuries that they shouldn't have done better. They shouldn't have done better than 7 wins in 32. I think De Zerbi needs to prove, in my view, he needs to prove that last season when Brighton got a top 6 finish wasn't a one-off, and that this season wasn't just a blip, and it's not going to be it's going to be a more regular pattern of his work. You want a yes man? De Zerbi and Maresca are stubborn and hot-headed. No chance. I think Maresca's a bit more level-headed, but De Zerbi's certainly, an explosive character, outspoken, not prepared to speak his mind. And if he doesn't agree with something, he won't think twice about saying it in press conferences, which won't go down well with the current club. So the current structure. Sorry, I'm just unsure on De Zerbi. If we're being really honest, I'm just really unsure. I don't know. I don't know if he's the answer or not. But given the options that are available, guys, I would take him. But just because he's the best of a shit bunch of options doesn't mean that it's the right fit for Chelsea. It just means he's the least shit of the ones that we're being linked with. And I know that sounds a bit harsh, but that is the reality of the situation here, guys. He is the least shit of the managers that are available. And I just don't know. Well, I'm just not sure on him. It's going to be difficult, and people get all excited by it. But look, ultimately, yes, he's got charisma. Yes, he's got, he's got a clear idea. He plays a good brand of football. Yes, we know that. But, again, reporting, this is a report from Miguel Delaney at The Independent saying that De Zerbi began to get more demanding without necessarily having the full range of achievements to go with it. The Brighton hierarchy were understood to be fed up. I can fully understand that. I can fully understand it. I know I'm not saying he's shit. There absolutely is context, that he lost key players and had a huge amount of injuries. I absolutely agree with that. But is there not reason to think that despite that, you should be doing better than 1 win in the last 10 Premier League games, and you should be doing better than 7 wins in the last 32 Premier League games? I get that I get there's context to it. I understand there's circumstances to it. But if you're going to apply injury context and losing key players to injury, then that same context has to apply to Pochettino as well. But people don't seem to be prepared to do that. It seems to be fine that the excuses for De Zerbi are injuries, but when it comes to Poch, that situation, it doesn't seem to be. People don't seem to be as forthcoming with their reasoning. Certainly. In my mind, but again, that's just my opinion. I don't dislike De Zerbi. I think he's an exciting manager who's got a lot of potential to be a very good coach, but there are genuine concerns there. And I think above any footballing concerns would be his explosive character and the fact he's very outspoken, which is not in line with what this ownership are looking for. By the way, guys, there's so much coming in the chat. I'll try and get through as much as I can. Big up to every single person that's locked in. Really appreciate it. If you want to guarantee that your comment gets read out, please use the super chat function. It's greatly appreciated, a donation, no matter how big or small. And talking of super chats, let me get back to this one. Big up to the Dearest Devil, my guy. Thank you for the super chat donation, brother. Hope you're doing well and having a good day. And yeah, big yourself up, big supporter of the channel. It's greatly appreciated, my guy. Most people want Poch to stay. So what are you saying? I mean, look, I would have preferred him to stay. I think people that tune in regularly know my stance. I would have preferred him to stay for sure. But that's been and gone now. And so we have to move on and come to and see what the next one is. That absolutely isn't happening. Absolutely is not happening. As much as people would like it to happen, it's not happening. The owners presented you the shit options first, so that you would accept whatever is being presented to you next. Look, again, you could certainly view it that way. You could say they're putting those names out there, and then the mystery candidate might be a bigger name, and then if that mystery candidate ends up being appointed, people are slightly happier because, you know, it's a better choice than they were expecting in the first place. I can fully get on board with that trail of thinking. I can understand you thinking that. And you know what? You know, this club under this ownership are very PR heavy. That's certainly a possibility, guys. That is certainly a possibility. Amorim, 2 Portuguese leagues, 3 cups in 4 seasons. He won the cup with Braga as well. Look, Amorim's another one. 39 years of age, got massive potential. Sure, a risk comes with concerns. Hasn't managed outside of Portugal. Hasn't really managed big personalities. The way that he's managed to beat off the likes of Porto and Benfica to establish Sporting as a top club in Portugal has to be admired and respected. The way that he's got that team playing has to be as well. The way that he's got a lot out of Victor Gyökeres, the way that he's got, you know, a lot out of other players. You know, the fact that they lost Manuel Ugarte was a key player for them in the summer, and they've gone again. You know, these are all things to be positive about. But again, at the end of the day, there's going to be drawbacks to every single manager. That's the reality. And again, winning in Portugal isn't always a great indication, as someone's just mentioned in the chat. By the way, big up to everyone in the chat as well. People saying Amorim won this and that. Villas-Boas also won multiple trophies in Portugal. I think he won the UEFA, what was the UEFA Cup, or maybe it was Europa League by then. He also won the Europa League with Porto. Look, there's no guarantee that success in Portugal or just success in general elsewhere is going to translate to your next job. But ultimately, you've got to take a risk on someone. You've got to back someone. You've got to believe in them. That's the reality. That's the reality of the situation, guys. At this point in time, of course, it's absolutely better than winning nothing. Absolutely agree. No, I mean someone must be either drunk on the hard stuff or just totally deluded. They said that. No, Klopp's not coming to Chelsea. Klopp's made it very clear he's not going to take another Premier League job in his career. But in terms of De Zerbi, you know, it's again. I think I'd sum up on De Zerbi before we move on. I think I'd sum up on De Zerbi would be, A, if we want him, we need to move quickly because United are likely to sack Ten Hag after the FA Cup final, and De Zerbi would certainly be someone that could be of potential interest to them. But I think with De Zerbi, like just to round out where I probably stand on this one, obviously, as I stated, wasn't too pleased before with the initial links of De Zerbi. But given the candidates that are there, given how the situation's panning out right now, I think I'd be a lot more open to it. As I said, I understand, really bad season. But it does make sense as to why he could possibly end up at Stamford Bridge. It does make sense, guys. Again, you know, there are reports saying that a mystery club paid the compensation to Brighton for him. He knows how good Madrid can be. As I said, he's worked with Colwell and Caicedo. He plays a style of football that this ownership are looking to implement. So there are reasons as to why he could manage us, but I've got to be honest, I'm still quite unsure on him. Who would you want, in your opinion, to become Chelsea manager? I personally, for me, I'm not sure is the answer to that. I mean, De Zerbi, I wouldn't be dead against. I think if I had a choice, I'd probably go Ruben Amorim, but realistic choice, I would probably go with Kieran McKenna. I think I'd probably slightly prefer him to I would slightly prefer him to I slightly prefer him to Maresca, but I don't think there's an awful lot in it. By the way, 153 in the building. Yes. Big up to the people. 58 likes, guys. Let's get this up to 100. Keep smashing the like button. Run this up to 100 likes, guys. There's plenty of people in there that haven't smashed that like button, so keep smashing it. And of course, guys, keep hitting the subscribe button as well. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Less than 600 to go now. Make sure that you are subscribing to the channel. We're on 9,410. Let's get this to 9,420. There must be 10 people in there that aren't subscribed. So smash the like and subscribe. Help me on the journey and become part of the great community that is being built here. All top people that regularly tune into the channel. Xavi from Barca is my favourite. Imagine what he could do with our midfield. Again, Xavi's an interesting choice. Does that alter Chelsea's thinking now that he's on the market and now that he's available? I don't know the answer to that. And that is certainly something that is very interesting. De Zerbi, yes, man, far out, it will not work, and we will be back here. No, I probably agree in that. I mean, look, aura shouldn't be a reason to appoint managers. No, I'm not saying he's a better coach, but I just think that with what Chelsea are looking for, I think McKenna or Maresca is far more likely. Absolutely, though, they're not better coaches than De Zerbi. I agree on that. Zerbi makes no sense other than someone has a hard on for all things Brighton. Fair, I can see that as well. I can see Maresca a good option. He did well at Leicester, and clearly we can see good positive things. He worked under Pep as well, so there's a good vision. Yeah, but I think the problem that Chelsea have got is they're just obsessed with finding the next Arteta, obsessed with finding, the next Xabi Alonso, rather than being focused on what's actually going to be best for the club and what's going to be the right thing for the club moving forwards. That's what I think. Chelsea aren't actually thinking about what's best for the club. They're thinking about, we want to find the next big thing, whether it's players from South America, or whether it's managers, rather than doing what's right for the club and appointing someone a bit more experienced that can steady the ship and take the club forward. Yes, big up. I want Ruben Amorim at Chelsea instead of these championship-level managers. Fair. Feliciano and Egbali are only interested in financial success. Ultimately, though, I still don't, despite my reservations over the ownership, and I've been heavily critical of them, I still don't believe that they don't want to win. Yes, they want to make money and they want to return on their investment, 100%, as all business people do. But the quickest way to make money in football is by winning. That's why I don't believe that these guys don't want to win, because that's the quickest way to making money is by winning. Great recruitment, lads. Get rid of an elite manager for two blokes who've never managed a Premier League game. Yeah, fair. Do you think the owners care about the club, or do you think they're just businessmen only here for the money? No, look, I do believe they care about the club. I do think they do. I mean, look, right now they're making a lot of decisions that aren't popular with the fans. They're making, they're making decisions that, just not popular decisions. At the end of the day, I think De Zerbi is the most likely to want to prove himself. He knows the other teams in the league and how they play, and would have a vastly better squad than he had at Brighton. Yeah, of course, with better tools available, he could do a better job. Absolutely. I don't think there's major doubts over De Zerbi's footballing stuff. Yes, defensively his teams aren't great and whatnot, but in terms of the style of play, in terms of his possession-based football, in terms of the way his teams attack and all that, those are positives. I think the biggest drawback with De Zerbi is that, does he fit into the club structure and how they want to operate? I'm not sure he does. I could easily see him falling out with the hierarchy within by Christmas, if we're being totally honest, if he were to take over. Again, look, there's no guarantees of this. Just because they've worked with them before in a different environment, there's no guarantees that they'll then be a success. It just doesn't really work like that, to be honest. I don't want Arteta. No one's saying that Arteta's coming. He is him, guys. He'll do us wonders. When it comes to Chelsea hiring a manager, they have been a huge success. I mean, look, who've we had in the past? Not Di Matteo, Sarri. To me, right, De Zerbi sort of not quite the same, but he strikes me as a bit of a Maurizio Sarri Mark II. You know, Maurizio Sarri Mark II in my view. But let's wait and see. Anyway, that is enough on Roberto De Zerbi, guys. Let's move on quickly to a bit of news on Enzo Maresca, because obviously Chelsea has taken their time to pick the best possible option. They're discussing all the possibilities. We know that. Let's just quickly bring this news up on Enzo Maresca, because Fabrizio Romano saying that Enzo Maresca is where is it? He'd be super keen on taking the job. Enzo Maresca super keen on taking the job and is a concrete possibility, according to Fabrizio. Enzo Maresca, guys, and I can confirm that he is super open and super keen on joining Chelsea. So it's a concrete possibility. Yeah, let's wait and see. Look, he's done good work. And again, this is another manager. I mean, Chelsea are set to interview him as well, I think. I don't know when, but Chelsea have been reported to want to interview Maresca at some point. You know, would he suit the squad? Yes, I think he probably would. He's worked with Palmer and Romeo Lavia before in the City Academy, where they won the where they won the Premier League 2 title. Plus, Joe Shields, our best recruiter at the end of the day, worked with him at the City Academy and has apparently put in a good word for him. He plays dynamic football, you know, he inverts fullbacks and all that. He dominates possession, overloads the midfield to kind of sustain possession, and he stops transitions with the inverted fullback. It's not boring possession and whatnot. Leicester had the best defence in the Championship last season and the second best attack, despite almost blowing the Championship title due to a lack of squad depth. And look, you know, the players perhaps weren't quite good enough to carry out the way that he wanted to play football in his mind. Do you know what I mean? You know, he had it with the best defence in the Championship with a back two of Wout Faes and Yannick Vestergaard. You know, so he can definitely do a lot better with the squad that suits his football better if he's well backed. He definitely plays modern football, a lot of control. I don't know if he's my top choice or not, and he shouldn't really be on a Chelsea managerial shortlist, but that's a different conversation. And look, when Leicester came to Stamford Bridge in the FA Cup, they gave us a very good game and they almost beat us, and that was a Maresca team. You know, and I don't think players will struggle to buy into his way of wanting to play football. The fact that he's worked with Cole Palmer and Lavia before, the fact that Joe Shields knows him and has given an endorsement. You know, he's learned from Pep Guardiola. These are all important things. You know, these are all things that are, you know, enable someone to become a well-grounded individual. You know, a well-grounded individual. And he's obviously learnt from the best. And those things are important, guys. Those things are 100% important. Hold on. If we make Europa League after today's game, it gives us another shout for getting CL football. So that's why I think we need a slightly more experience. I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree. The fact that if City win today, we're in the Europa League. We don't know what top four is going to be like. Winning the Europa League could be easier next season than getting the top four. It's another route into the Champions League. And so, yeah, you'd like to maybe have a bit more of an experienced manager that has perhaps managed in European competition before. Why fans hating on De Zerbi, I don't know, but he has experience with the players now in Chelsea and De Zerbi. Look, De Zerbi's a good manager. There's no denying that. I just think there are underlying concerns in regards to him. I truly believe, there are underlying concerns. Leicester fans are not too bothered about losing Maresca, which says a lot. They call him boring. I mean, look, fans are always going to have criticisms of managers. Maresca's done a good job there. There's clearly something about him, and yes, the managers are going to be concerned about him. Leicester fans have that I've spoken to a couple that I know. They say that he's not perfect. They're not direct enough at times, and they're shocking at attacking and defending set pieces. Exactly the same as kind of the issues that have occurred at Chelsea this season. But look, I would be open to Maresca coming. I would absolutely be open to Chelsea making a move for Enzo Maresca. No doubt about it. No doubt about it at all. I'd be massive. I would be open to it, and it would be a potentially exciting appointment in my view. Look, he's not perfect. No manager's perfect, and it's going to be a huge step up from him. I don't think people realise how big the step up is going to be from the Championship to the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? It's a huge one. It's a huge one. But then again, with Maresca, maybe is it harder to be Pep's assistant than it is to be a head coach in a lot of places? Maybe it is. Maybe people don't realise the levels that are required to coach a squad to win 4 straight Premier Leagues, a treble, the greatest English team ever. There's definitely doubts over his model, and he needs to be looked at closer. But what he did was impressive. There were 26 wins I've just seen in the first 32 league games. That's insane. In the last 12 games they weren't good. They were on course for well over 100 points, but ultimately they fell short with a poor run of form towards the end of the season, and they almost blew the title. But I think, look, again, you can put it this way. I don't know how impressed I am by the fact that McKenna, with a significantly smaller budget, a squad that just came from League One, managed to finish just a point below him. I don't know. Maybe this is a bit harsh, but I think it feels like Maresca is one of these guys with the right idea. Like, he's a right ideas coach who gets away with a lot because he has the right ideas. Maybe similar to De Zerbi, he gets away with a lot because he's got the right ideas, but he objectively coached the defence, which conceded a ton of goals and finished below Crystal Palace, who changed head coach in Feb. Just because he works with Pep doesn't make him significantly better than someone else. That's the reality here. It doesn't make him significantly better than someone else just because he works with Pep. Yes, it's a good football grounding. This is a good place to come from and a good place to learn from, but it doesn't mean that But it doesn't mean, guys, that just because he's learnt from Pep, that he means he's any better than anyone else. That's the reality, guys. De Zerbi raised Brighton to 7th place in the Prem table. Look, he got their highest ever finish. Did a very good job there. He will be anyone's going to be under pressure. Set pieces shouldn't be a problem anymore. Hopefully they won't be. Maresca under pressure is going to make us keep the ball and pass around with no cutting edge. Look, again, I don't know enough about him. McKenna is more Klopp-like, aggressive and fast in possession, high press, exciting. Exciting, but he uses the mid similar to Pochettino, which I'm not a fan of. Taylor roams like Enzo did early in the season. Yeah, no, it is a massive jump. For sure it is. This is a massive problem. People constantly comparing managers to like the best available. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. Up and coming managers shouldn't be compared to your Peps and to your Klopps and stuff like that. It's mad. And this is why people end up being so disappointed, because they build people up to be something that they aren't. And when they don't hit the unrealistic achievements that they've set for these guys in their mind before they've come through the door, they end up being massively disappointed and say these guys aren't that good, when in reality, it was their expectations that were a million miles off, an absolute million miles off. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? Imagine Caicedo, Lavia, Gallagher, three-man midfield. Do you get, I mean, Enzo in there as well. There's definitely possibilities, guys. There's so much coming in. But yeah, that's just the latest on Maresca. In regards to McKenna, let's briefly move on to him. And the Times reporting yesterday that Kieran McKenna is waiting on his number one choice, which is Manchester United. Now, we know that McKenna is a boyhood United fan. We know that he was a coach there under Mourinho. We know he was a coach there under Ole. He's a guy that's highly in demand. And ultimately, at the end of all this, Kieran McKenna is the biggest winner of the lot. He either gets a move to Chelsea, Brighton, or Man United, or he signs a new deal at Ipswich with a fat pay rise. So at the end of the day, Kieran McKenna wins whatever happens. But I do feel that if McKenna's first choice is United, then should we really be looking to appoint someone that, yes, they would be they'd be keen to join the club, but actually, do you know what? He's not the first choice. But then we know full well as well that he would be billed as the first choice, which is classic, isn't it? He'd be billed as the first choice, which is not what you want. Not what you want at all. He'd be billed as the first choice. So yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whoever comes in they're going to be billing them as the preferred choice, when we know that that can only be the case for one of the candidates. So yeah, look, for me, it's a bit of a red flag that his preferred choice would be United. But again, would United go for McKenna? When they're also looking at Thomas Tuchel, they're looking at maybe Graham Potter, they're looking at the likes of Gareth Southgate, Thomas Frank. The problem we've got is, though, the longer we leave it, and if United, when they do inevitably sack Ten Hag, we're going to be in a position where United and us are going to be picking from the same pool of managers, and then you find yourself in a position where you're coming up against intense competition for managers. I know you don't want to rush the decision, and you want to get it right, but ultimately, guys, at the end of the day, there's a situation where, if you leave it too long, you're in danger of missing out on potentially one of your top targets, and that's not what you want. I think McKenna probably does play a better style of football than him. McKenna in his first. This is a bit of a thread here that I'm going to go. Let me bring this thread up on McKenna because it's actually quite interesting. So, someone's put this together. In Kieran McKenna's first full 2 seasons as manager, he achieved back-to-back promotions, 194 points, and 193 goals scored. And he did it with the same core of players he inherited. Now he's linked to the elites. Let's assess his tactical approach in detail. So, McKenna's Ipswich are versatile with a 4-2-4 build-up shape. They either use the close proximity of the initial 4-2 in the build-up to attract the opposition in and play through or play over to the crowded side and battle for second balls. Leif Davis, the left-back, flies high on the left, which maybe, you could see Chilwell playing that sort of a role if McKenna were to take over high up on that left-hand side, which probably wouldn't please a great deal of Chelsea fans. No, he's from Northern Ireland. Yeah, correct. He's not English. He's from Northern Ireland. But yeah, let's carry on with this thread. So yeah, we got that there. When Davis pushes up, he forms a line of 5 in attack with each lane occupied as the left winger tucks inside into the half space. Ipswich's keeper often splits as a situational centre-back to create a 4-2-5 shape with the left centre-back pushed out to left-back. Higher up the pitch, McKenna's team attack in a 3-2-5 with Tunazebi tucked into the back 3 from right-back and Davis remaining in the last line of attack. The proximity across the park is conducive to circulation, ball progression, combination play. The balance and quality is top. Ipswich attacking structure is ideal for creating 1v1 situations out wide. So the likes of Mudryk and Madueke, who are good in those situations, that could benefit them. Or switching the play to the winger and the rest of the attack either come close to combine or attack the box. Behind that, though, is where the magic happens. This is where McKenna's tactics are seen. Not only are there plenty of options in the box, but the compactness behind the initial line of attack is flawless. Ipswich have a 5v4 versus Hull's front 4, whilst maintaining a top attacking threat. More specifically, they have a 2v1 in the last line and 3v3 outside the box. They may attack in a 3-2-5, but Tunazebi has the license to push higher up to form a 2-3-5 shape when the moment is right. Below is a perfect example of that, as Hull only have one player high. Instead of holding a 3v1 in the first line, it makes sense for him to push higher. There's a lot here and there. Here, McKenna's team are similarly versatile and well drilled in the high pressing moment. They vary their approach depending on the opposition, particularly from goal kicks, but the general staples and quality within the pressing structure remain. Look at 2 different examples. Okay, we'll skim over them. The reason McKenna changed... this is long, isn't it? Jesus, I'm not going to read all this. Basically, I think the long and the short of it is it's absolutely clear that Ipswich are a phenomenally well-drilled team, both in and out of possession. As far as tactics go, there's absolutely no doubt that McKenna is very good and he can quite clearly implement balance quickly within a new working environment. I just worry that... I don't worry, but again, it's like he's like the next... No, he's like the next big... He's like the next name off the block. Do you know what I mean? In terms of young, up-and-coming talent in English football. Why does everyone keep on with Tuchel? After you won the Champions League, we were crap. You're only remembering the good times. Look, I agree. I think that Tuchel will be forever held in the highest regard at Chelsea for winning the Champions League, for being the forefront of the club during the sanctions. But look, the Champions League win papered over the cracks of what was not a great spell for him. 3 teams that came up went down again, and Burnley walked to the Championships, and Leicester will do the same. Look, no, we're not looking at relegation, of course not. But look, I think Leicester will probably stay up. Ipswich, it will be tough. It will be tough for sure. And I think it will be tough for Southampton or Leeds as well to stay up. But just because, you might go down as a manager doesn't mean you're a bad manager. Company's just got the Bayern Munich job, for fuck's sake, and he got relegated with Burnley. McKenna, whether he stays at Ipswich, whether he comes to Chelsea or Man United, will be someone that does much better with much better tools available to him. Do you know what I mean? That's the reality, guys. The better the tools you have, the more likely you are to succeed, or to do better in the first place. That's my view on it. Also, guys, still 130 people in the building. Big up to everyone that's locked in. We're 15 likes short of 100. Smash the thumbs up button, guys. Let's get this up and over 100 likes. You've got this. There's definitely 15 people in there that haven't smashed the like button. So smash that like button. And please as well, guys, keep subscribing to the channel if you're new around here. It's free and it takes seconds. And we're climbing towards 9.5K. On the road to 10K, guys. So every new subscriber really helps. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so and become part of the community. And please smash the likes. It's free. It takes seconds. And it really helps boost the content in the algorithm. So smash that like button. 7 more to go to the 100 mark. Let's do it, people. Big up to Xavi in Gatwick South. I've got no idea how true that is. But yeah, it is what it is. But look, it's clear that McKenna's ideas can definitely move across to a bigger team, and with better tools available, he would no doubt do better. But again, it's a massive risk. But at the same time, he's more qualified for the job than Frank Lampard was when he took over. He's more qualified than Mikel Arteta was when he got the Arsenal job. He's more qualified than Xabi Alonso was before he took the Bayer Leverkusen job. He was more qualified than Pep Guardiola before he took the Barcelona job. So, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying he's going to be better or as good as those managers, but let's apply a little bit of context to him. He's far more experienced than any of those managers who are widely regarded as top managers now. He's got far more experience than any of them when they first took their jobs. More experience than Zidane as well. A good point. So it's interesting to see people. It's very, very interesting to see. But look, I think McKenna can definitely do a good job. Ipswich Town's majority shareholder has flown in from the US to have talks with the club CEO and McKenna, and they're desperate for him to sign a new deal, as you can imagine. You know, yes, he's had an interview with Brighton. He wants to go to Man United. It's ultimately, at the end of the day, whether he goes to United, whether he goes to Chelsea, if he goes to either one of those clubs, it's an incredible gamble for a career that right now is on a very, very good path. It's a huge gamble for McKenna to take. I rate it if he backs himself and believes in his ability, but his stock's high right now, and I absolutely get that. If he were to get relegated with Ipswich, would the top jobs still be available in 12 months' time? Maybe they wouldn't. Who knows? So it's a difficult decision for him to make. If I was advising him, I'd say stay at Ipswich or go to Brighton. I just think it's too big a gamble to take to go to the likes of a Chelsea or a United, no matter how appealing it might be. Do you know what I mean? The Athletic describe him as refined, calm, and a masterful tactician who could become an elite manager. Again, there's a lot of ifs and buts here with McKenna. There's a lot of ifs and buts, but they play some brilliant football, and across England's top 4 tiers since the start of the 22-23 season, no team have taken more points than Ipswich. So, do you know what I mean? If you get what I'm saying, guys. So I think, look, McKenna would be potentially be a good choice, but it's a huge gamble. It's a huge gamble. But again, I don't expect too much more news in regards to managers to come over the weekend. To be honest, I'd expect next week for things to really start to heat up. And if anything is going to happen, then you'd expect it to. If anything is going to happen, you'd expect it to happen kind of at the start of next week. I'd be surprised if anything happened over the weekend. But then again, if there's news to come out, it will certainly come out over the weekend. But let's move away from managers, because right now there's not too much more to update on. And let's move. Well, there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees in football. And Company is now Bayern Munich manager. Look, just because you get relegated from the Premier League doesn't mean you're a bad manager. Let's make that perfectly clear. But let's move on to the transfer news. And the big transfer news is that Chelsea, regardless of the managerial situation, want to bring Michael Olise to the club this summer. Chelsea's owners want to retain their aggressive, bold transfer policy of bringing in players with the head coach focusing on preparing the team. Look, Olise, top player. Really like him. He's got I think it's 5 goals and 10 assists in 19 Premier League appearances this season. Something along those lines. Do we need Olise? No. Have we got an abundance of right wingers? Yes. Does it make sense? No, it doesn't. But is it greedy? Yes. Is it hoarding talent in that area? Yes, it is. But do I want Michael Olise to come to Stamford Bridge? Absolutely, I do. But what it's going to mean is that one of Sterling, Mudryk, or Madueke will have to be sold this summer. Now, if you look at it, I believe that it's too early to sell Mudryk and Madueke. It's too early to sell Mudryk, in my view, because one, I think the club won't get a return on him, and two, they need to give him a bit more time than 18 months to try and make a mark. So they won't look to sell Mudryk, in my view, because they won't get a return on their money, and I think they still believe in him, and I think it's too early to write him off. But at the same time, I don't think it's right to sell Madueke either. Would Chelsea get a profit on their investment from Madueke? Quite possibly they would. Someone that's shown a lot of promise towards the end of the season, and I think he's a good player to have around the squad, and I would certainly be looking to keep him for another season. The obvious candidate to go is Raheem Sterling, and it would make the most sense. And I think Chelsea would like to get rid of Sterling. The big problem they've got is his wages. He would have to take a massive pay cut to go elsewhere. And we know there's interest from Saudi Arabia, but he's not going to want to go there. We know there's interest from Saudi, but he's not interested in a move there. Okay, which I can understand. Look, he's happy to stay at Chelsea. Of course he is on the big contract that he's on. And he's settled in London. It's near where his family are. But ultimately, Sterling is not part of the plans, guys. He is not part of the plans. That's the reality of the situation here. Sterling is not part of the plans. He doesn't fit in with this project at all. And he needs to go. And if he goes, then Olise would be a perfect replacement. I know we don't need more right wingers because you've got Esteval Willian coming in 2025. You've got Kendry Paez coming in 2025. Right wingers, we've got plenty. But if you had on the right-hand side, Olise, the problem is, though, you would have Olise, Palmer, and Nkunku, you would say, as your first choice three behind the striker. But where would you play Olise as a 10, Palmer on the right, and Nkunku on the left? Or do you have Nkunku as the 10, Palmer on the right, and you have Olise on the left? Look, I think that it's a good headache to have, and those players are more than good enough to, do you know what I mean? They're more than good enough to switch things up, to rotate in those different positions. They're more than good enough to do that. But at the same time, guys, I don't know how likely it is. We were very, very close to agreeing a deal for Olise last summer. We bid the £35 million that was his release clause, and it seemed like a deal was going to be done. And then for whatever reason, that deal fell through at the end. I don't know why. And Olise ended up signing a new contract, which has got a higher release clause in it, which no one really knows what the true value of the release clause is. No one really knows what the value of the release clause is, but it's believed to be around the £60 million mark. Now, again, another glowing endorsement for Olise, not that you need it because the eye test tells you everything you need to know, is that Joe Shields is behind the deal. That is something that is, that I think every Chelsea fan can get behind. If Joe Shields endorses a player, it means that, you should probably be going to get him because he's had a very good hit rate. Cole Palmer, obviously Romeo Lavia's been injured, but again, another player that Joe Shields was instrumental behind bringing to the club. And I think Olise would be the same. Now, if you're Michael Olise, you were at the Chelsea Academy when you were younger. Olise's brother is still there now. He would remain in London, which I think would probably be a plus point over going to United. But again, where is he likely to get more game time? I think he's probably going to want to go where he's likely to play more often. I think he's going to want to go where he's likely to play more often. And right now, is he more likely to play at Chelsea or is he more likely to play at United? He's probably more likely to play more regularly at United. Apparently, he's a Man United fan, but at the end of the day, I don't think that really matters too much in my view. But look, it's a phenomenally exciting signing. He is a top player. There's no doubt about it. And he would instantly make Chelsea's attack better. The problem is, what does it mean for the likes of Esteval and Kendry Páez? Because there's far too many people in that area of the squad. Far too many people. Do you know what I mean? There's way too many people in that area. And look, in terms of Chelsea's long-term squad building, it makes absolutely zero sense. But then, if you're talking of the here and now, the signing of Olise instantly makes Chelsea's attack better. It instantly makes the attack better, guys, and that's the reality here. It instantly makes the attack better. And so this is where we are at with Olise, is that doesn't make sense. Don't really need him. It doesn't line up with Chelsea's long-term squad building. But on the positive side, he instantly makes the Chelsea attack better. So we're in a bit of a catch-22, but I think if you can make space for Olise, and he's keen to come, then you absolutely do what you can, because players of his quality don't come about too often. And if you're able to do a deal, then you absolutely go and do a deal. No, they're not even 18 yet. They're coming in 2025. That's when they will be. They'll be 18. Guys, 110 likes. Big up to every single one that's locked in. 172 in the building here. Love to everyone that's tuned in. The numbers are climbing. Keep smashing the like button. Let's get this up to 120 likes. Smash the like button, guys, and keep subscribing to the channel as well, guys. We're on 9,414. Let's get this to 9,420. 6 more subscribers. That should be light work, guys. Should be light work. So 6 out of the 170 in here. Smash that subscribe button, guys, if you're tuned in. Let's get this to 9,420 and another step closer to the 10K. But big up to everyone that's locked in. Get these likes up. It really helps with the algorithm. So 170 locked in. This should be on 120, 130 likes. So do your thing, people. Do your thing. Let's get it done. This is the point. Board keeps stacking players with a view of profit and no actual pathway for players. Look, and this is the big concern that I have is, what is the pathway? Can you demonstrate a clear pathway to these players for the first team? I don't see there being an issue with Olise as a pathway to the first team, but what's the pathway for Esteval? What's the pathway for Kendry Páez? Do you know what I mean? Páez and Esteval are Palmer, Olise understudies. Yeah, maybe they are. I think that's a bit of a short-sighted view in my mind. There's clearly a player there. There's definitely ability there. And I don't think after 18 months you're going to give up on someone that you've invested in for £62.5 million. So yeah, I like the model for 2030. Yeah, it looks good for 2030, but we're in 2024. So what's going to happen in 2024? That's also true. Quality will always make the team. Yeah, the cream always rises to the top. So it doesn't matter how many players you've got. If you're good enough, then yeah, of course, you will absolutely play. There's no denying that. You will absolutely play if you're good enough. Yeah, we do need a striker in the summer. Agreed. But yeah, I just can't help but feel massively excited about Michael Olise. £60 million for him. Okay, I think it's pretty good, all things considered. And Joe Shields is pushing, and in Joe Shields we trust. And if you look at what Olise's done this season, you can see that he's just an absolute joy to watch playing football. He just makes it so easy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to. I would even try and include Sterling as part of the deal, Sterling back to Crystal Palace. But I don't think that's very likely. I don't think that's very likely at all. But yeah, I just hope that it's not that whatever happened last summer is not going to be detrimental to us in our pursuit for him. But look, we've got imagine guys, if we were to get Olise, which I hope we can, and I'd like to think we'd be at the front of the queue, given his brothers at the club, given his time at the Chelsea academy, given all that. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Kepa's going this summer, guys. Kepa is going this summer, and we're all aware that Kepa will be departing the club this summer. He's only got 1 year. He's only got 1 year left on his deal, so he'll be gone. But yeah, that's the latest on Michael Olise. Chelsea very keen to press ahead with the move, regardless of who the manager is, and rightfully so. That is a move that I can get fully behind. Yeah, look, the injury record is perhaps a little bit of a concern. That's something that needs to be taken into consideration. But when he's fit and he's playing, he's an absolute joy to watch, and he does make any team better. So, yeah, that's how I would be looking at it. But look, let's move away from that. Let's wait and see how that one progresses. But yeah, look, I wouldn't want to lose Noni or Mudryk in the summer. If we're going to make room for Olise, you do whatever you can to dispense of Raheem Sterling. But this is certainly one to watch. It's going to be a hotly contested race. Chelsea, Man United believed to be the two clubs pushing, but there is also interest from Arsenal and Liverpool, who have got Champions League football to offer, which could potentially be seen as a bit of a difference maker, guys. Could be seen as a difference maker. What else have we got going on? Last little thing to go through, guys, is the news on Omari Hutchinson, which has emerged in the last hour or so. Let me just find it now, because after a very successful loan spell at Ipswich last season, Hutchinson is known to have interest from Ajax and Feyenoord in a permanent deal. But now Sky Germany are reporting that Stuttgart, managed by Sebastian Hoeneß, who was a manager that Chelsea were interested in, and now Stuttgart advancing in talks to sign Omari Hutchinson on loan. Bundesliga side now leading the chase, but there's interest from Ipswich, Ajax, Feyenoord, and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Again, Stuttgart would offer him Champions League football. Would be an interesting chance to test himself in a different league. Ultimately, I personally said that I think it makes the most sense for Hutchinson to go and spend another season on loan in the Premier League with Ipswich. But if McKenna were to leave, does that potentially change things and means that there could be better options elsewhere? I think it would be more beneficial to go on loan to Stuttgart rather than go to Feyenoord or Ajax. Personally, the Bundesliga is definitely a stronger league than the Eredivisie, in my view. But yeah, apparently he is attracting from Stuttgart in advanced talks over a loan move. To Stuttgart. So Stuttgart are pushing hard to sign Chelsea. The race for the 20-year-old is now beginning to intensify, with the Blues poised to decide whether they keep, loan, or sell the former Arsenal academy star. A permanent sale is currently considered unlikely, and all signs point towards him heading out on loan for another season. Chelsea's next manager may want to say on Hutchinson's future after he scored 10 goals and provided 5 assists as Ipswich got promoted to the Premier League. Ipswich would like to bring the player back to Portman Road, but their chances of striking a deal will hinge on the future of Kieran McKenna. Stuttgart are currently leading the race for Hutchinson's signature. They have already held productive talks, and reports in Germany even claim he was in attendance at their final match of the Bundesliga season, a 4-0 win over Mönchengladbach, to get a feel for the Stuttgart project. Gladbach have also shown an interest, while Dutch giants Ajax and Feyenoord are also in contention for his services as they await clarification on his future. Hutchinson, whose representatives have been fielding numerous calls from Europe, has since paid tribute to Ipswich for the best season of his life, indicating this could be goodbye. He's got just 1 year remaining on his current Chelsea deal, meaning the Blues will have to consider a contract extension this summer or risk losing him on a free transfer. There's clearly loads and loads of ability in Hutchinson. We know this, a lot of ability. Going to play in the Champions League would be good experience for him. Again, playing with different players, different league, different culture, all really important for young players. My only thing would be is how regularly would he play? That's the thing. They obviously want him for a reason, but is he going to be a bit part player, or is he going to be someone that's going to feature more regularly? So let's wait and see on that front. Let's wait and see on that front. But look, I think as much as I would like him to get some Premier League experience, I think experience of playing in the Bundesliga, experience of playing in the Champions League is going to A, raise his value a lot, and B, is going to definitely improve him tenfold as a player. I think it will be a really important experience for him, and would be majorly beneficial in my view. Be majorly beneficial for the player. So yeah, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what happens on that front. But he's a talented boy. But again, there's so much talent. There's so much talent at Chelsea. All these guys aren't going to make it. And when you look at the likes of what you've got, I mean, who else have you got? You've got Hutchinson, you've got Angelo, you've got Paez, Hutchinson, Angelo, Esteval, Mudryk, Madueke. Do you know what I mean? There's the future is in good hands, but all these guys aren't going to play a role. That's the reality. These guys aren't going to play a role, and there's not space for them all. So as good as some of these players are, they are not going to make it at the club. They're going to be sold on for a profit, and that's unfortunately the way that it goes. That's the way this model is. The very best will make it, and others, even though they might be very good, will be sold on for a profit. And I think that's probably what is going to happen with Hutchinson. In my view, people, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They'll both stay. I don't see any of that. I don't see anything different. We need the legendary Pedro. Look, I mean, yeah, he was a great player for us for sure. But yeah, guys, Hutchinson could be on a move to Germany and a move to Stuttgart, which would give him Champions League football next season, and another chance to test himself in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. Now, let me have a quick look at if there's anything else coming in. Otherwise, guys, just to round that out, Andre Santos has won Strasbourg's Player of the Month for May, meaning he's won back-to-back Player of the Month awards. So again, Santos is now finally finding his feet at Strasbourg, which is really good to see. And look, interesting to see what he does. Does he come into the squad straight away? Does he go and spend another full season on loan in Strasbourg, or does he go and have a season on loan at a little bit of a higher level? These are the decisions that need to be made by the football club, and I don't know how much of a say the incoming manager is going to have on those decisions, and whether they're just going to be made for him. I suspect that those decisions are most likely to be made for any incoming manager. That would be my view on the situation personally. But let's wait and see what happens on that front, guys. Let's wait and see what happens on that front. Yeah, absolutely. Sterling needs to go. If we can get rid of Sterling and get Olise in, then yeah. Again, Araujo, I think that's a massive long shot. A massive long shot. Top player. But again, if Barca's financial problems don't show any signs of easing up, then who knows? They could be tempted with a bid. They could be tempted with a big bid. But I think we've got other centre-back targets in mind. The likes of Lenny Yoro, the likes of Usman Diamonde are the sort of players that I think Chelsea would be looking to go for. What's score prediction for the FA Cup final? Yeah, I'd go along with a 3-1 City. Yeah, he was good once, but it's not happening now. Look, I think it's a good choice, but yeah, ultimately for me, I don't see it happening. I hope so as well. Fofana stays fit. He's basically a new signing as well. Yeah, he absolutely is. And look, Trevor Chalobah should be staying at the football club, so there should be no need to actually even sign another centre back. But here we are. Chalobah is probably going to be sold, and Fabrizio Romano believes that Chelsea are going to sign 2 centre backs this summer. So let's wait and see. But guys, I'm going to round this one out here. Big up to everyone that's tuned in. Greatly appreciate all the support as always. It really means a lot and doesn't go unnoticed. So big up to every single one of you in the chat. On the way out, guys, smash the like button. Let's try and get this to 150 likes on the way out, guys. We're on what? 127. Let's get this to 150 likes on the way out. Smash that like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, guys. That would be greatly appreciated. Trying to get this up to 9,500 before we hit the big 10K. So smash the likes, subscribe if you're new around here. Don't forget to subscribe. Get this to 150 likes. Get me closer to 9,500. And yeah, let's see what happens, guys. FA Cup final this afternoon. We'll find out whether we're playing Conference League or Europa League football next season. Let's see if we get any more news today on the managerial stuff, any more news on transfers, but I'm not too sure about that, if we do or not. If there's any major news, guys, I'll be back later on tonight. If not, I'll be back tomorrow, midday, 12 p.m. tomorrow, UK time, same time as today, for more Chelsea news. So until then, guys, smash the likes, subscribe, take care, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Up the Chelsea. Peace out. Catch you lot tomorrow.